We begin with another unit which is titled Philosophy of Evolution. And in this unit, we are considering two representative thinkers. And the inspiration for these two thinkers remains ultimately Charles Darwin. Darwin is the one who introduced evolution. But Darwin was a scientist. But the persons whom we are studying, they are philosophers. So although there is a close relation between Darwin's theory of evolution and the theory of evolution or the philosophy of evolution proposed by Bergson and Teilhard de Chardin, there is a close relation. We'll see how they are different and how they are related. So the inspiration for this theory of evolution in philosophy is from Charles Darwin, who lived 1809 to 1882. Charles Darwin. 1809 to, what did I say? 1882. 1882. And Bergson and Teilhard de Chardin, whom we are studying as philosophers of evolution, they come naturally after Darwin. Just a few points regarding his life, which is self-explanatory, what is given in the note in my write-up. Therefore, I don't have to give any special explanation. It explains by itself. So I don't have to spend my time in taking the class on that one. But then one or two points I just quickly refer to. So as he was teaching, he got an inspiration, an insight that struck him. And that insight was time is duration. We shall see how it has influenced his thought. Time is not to be taken as we take as the clock time, calculated time. Normally we think time in terms of calculation. So many minutes, so many hours, so many days. So we are calculating in quantitative terms we consider time. But he had an insight which did not come to him as a result of study, but it came to him in his philosophical mind. Time is duration. That he himself was not clear. Even in what he is proposing in his writings also not that evident, but then that insight is valuable. Later philosophers have made use of that insight to give a different understanding of time. So this intuition is of his expressed itself in his doctoral dissertation, essay on the immediate data of consciousness. So he wrote a dissertation, PhD thesis, and this insight that he got it before he started his dissertation, time is duration, that is reflected in his doctoral dissertation. The title is given. The widespread attraction of his book is this book won him a call from Paris to teach. So he published his dissertation or his thesis in the form of a book on the immediate data of consciousness. And it was people immediately they were taken up by the newness of the thought that was very attractive. Something new, something insightful is in this person. And so then naturally he came to be well known, and he was called to teach in Paris. Paris, and that is a privilege. Especially in the Paris, there is a particular, it's called Collège de France. The literal meaning is College of the France. It is not a college, it is not a university, it is a super university. That means those who come there are not coming for some degrees, but rather they are coming there after having specialized themselves, after having taught, after having lived the life. They come for a sharing and taking inspiration from one another. It is a post-doctoral type of not a degree. Only those people, those who are established themselves with a name, with a fame, only they come to the Collège de France, and then as students, then you can imagine who are the teachers. Not anyone, but who have got something creative to propose. And they come they are appointed as the teachers in Collège de France. So he got at his young age, he got an invitation to come to teach at Collège de France because of the newness of his thought. A few other works are given there: memory, creative evolution, laughter, creative mind. So these are some of his books. Then he was also given Nobel Prize, not a Nobel Prize, Nobel Prize, Nobel, Nobel Prize for Literature in 1928. That means the world also recognized his literary genius. Because in philosophy there is no Nobel Prize. Any philosopher who got a Nobel Prize, they got it in the literature. So the literature considers philosophy as well as one of the areas of literature, and so Bergson was given the Nobel Prize. I hope the name of the person whom we are dealing with. Henry Bergson. As I already told, two philosophers of evolution we are considering. And the first one is Henry Bergson. So all that I said just now is about the Henry Bergson. Now coming to his doctrine. Before he comes to his theory, his thought, he makes a distinction. That distinction is not an innocent distinction, but it is a critique and opposition to what has been done in the past and a proposal for what is to be done. It is something similar to what Nietzsche has done, the distinction between Apollonian and Dionysian. So when he speaks about Apollonian, this is what philosophy has been, at the neglect of the Dionysian. So it is not mere a division of two branches of philosophy or two types of philosophizing, but rather he is indirectly or directly criticizing what philosophy has been, and the way he expresses that what the critique is in terms of the distinction that he makes between science and philosophy, intellect and intuition. So he makes a distinction between science and philosophy. And corresponding to this one, we can put here intellect and as different from intuition. Intellect and intuition. So this distinction, as I already told, it is on the one hand a critique, on the other hand a proposal, just as the case of Nietzsche. So what does he say? How does he make this distinction between science and philosophy that is equal to intellect and intuition? Without going through the what I have given in the write-up. I can give a few points. Now, science employs more of intellect. Employs means intellect is at its peak in science, scientific way of thinking. And what is the scientific way of thinking? It is more analytical, analysis. Science looks at reality, dissecting reality part by part. That is typical scientific approach. Go into the minutest detail, go into the atom, even how it can be split again. So go into the, as we go smaller and minute, we call him one expression is infinitesimally minute. Not simply minute, the maximum minute possible. So science is going into the one hand, dividing, subdividing. That is not merely in science, but that approach is basically the philosophical approach of Western thought pattern. Western thought pattern has been analytical. Western mind is analytical. The philosophy either to up till now, or the Western philosophy has been analytical approach. That is an important distinction between the Eastern thought and Western thought. Western thought is analytical, cutting, division. In logic, we have studied definition and division. We define, clarify, and then we distinguish as how it is different from something else. That distinction, that division goes on to the as minute a point as possible. That is division and distinction. Definition and division. Aristotle is very strong on that, the meaning of division. We have dwelt at length on this point, the meaning of division. How can we make a logical division? And we can analyze or dissect. The scientific term is dissecting reality. Dissect means cut into pieces. To dissect. So, now what can be cut into pieces? What can be analyzed when we look at reality as a dead, extended matter? So, for the science, reality is extended, dead, extended matter. So it is a matter that is extended and we go on dividing. That is dead. Anything that is dead we can divide. That which is alive we cannot divide. That approach of division, of course, this we are not speaking about simply cutting. We have to philosophically think about the meaning of division. And we cannot only that which is dead and there to be cut into pieces, to be divided, then we are considering reality as dead and extended. Spatial matter. That is the approach the scientists had and the philosophers. Scientists means we are not referring only to scientists, but then the Western hitherto philosophy was more scientific. Hitherto philosophy means the philosophy up till now. The traditional philosophy has been scientific through and through, and which looks at reality in analytical terms. That is the typical Western culture and philosophy, analytical. Specialization. Once I referred to the distinction between Western treatment of medicine and the Eastern style. The Eastern style is what? More holistic. The person is sick, but the Eastern approach is what? The Western approach is analytical, part by part. The finger is sick. The finger has to be treated. The eye is sick. The left eye is sick. That way out, and then I have to be specialized on the eye. Indian Ayurveda, there is no specialization. It is not a confusion. It is a different philosophy of thought. The person is sick. So those who have, I always give this example to make students realize the distinction between analytical and synthetical. The whole person is sick, and that person has to be treated. Not hand is not the one who is that which is sick. That is a manifestation of the person being sick. So philosophy has been using intellect as the tool for looking at the reality. That means not only because intellect is used, reality was considered as dead spatial matter for me to analyze, for me to make cut into pieces, for me to make distinctions. That is the way reality has been considered. And as different from this one, the intuition is more synthesis. Not analysis. And they consider reality not as dead but as alive and dynamic and living, and so dynamic may be better, and evolving, maybe a technical term for him, maybe, and evolving. So reality is alive, dynamic, and evolving. When the reality is moving, dynamic, and evolving, we cannot catch and cut into pieces. When the reality is considered as dead, extended, I can divide as I want. That is not possible when reality is considered as evolving. So growing, evolving, or becoming. Evolving or becoming, we can add one more term, becoming. So that is the, now philosophy, now when you may say philosophy, what philosophy should be, what he is proposing. This also was philosophy, but that was a scientific philosophy. Traditional philosophy has been nothing but scientific. Now, real philosophy has to be using not intellect but intuition. Intuition. Intellect, if we use, we will find reality to be analyzed, to be defined. We cannot define something that is moving. To define means what? You are putting something into the boundary, fitting into this one. Man is rational animal. That means we are placing man into the framework of rational animal. That we are considering man as a dead concept. A dead concept. When human being is considered as dynamic and alive, we cannot take it as, we cannot give a definition for a human being, we cannot divide as well. So definition and division is possible only when reality is considered as dead, static, conceptual object, which I can define, which I can put into capsules, I can also subdivide and so on. That is what the whole Western philosophy has been doing so. Even God has been made an object of human calculation. We define God. That means putting God into a conceptual framework, saying that this is what God is. With this understanding, I just read the what is given in the note. It becomes clearer. Bergson proclaims the incapacity of science and conceptual thinking to penetrate ultimate reality. For science, the world is composed of rigid, extended bodies whose behavior is predetermined by determined laws. So we cannot make a calculation or we cannot predetermine how it will behave. If I drop this one, it will fall down because it's a dead object. If it is a alive one, I did not know where it will go. It can move this side or that side. So we cannot pre-plan with the determined laws when reality is alive and dynamic, when it is moving. We can determination, laws or predetermined laws can be given only when reality is seen as dead and stagnant. It can deal with that about which we can make predictions. So we cannot make predictions about that which is alive. A living thing, we do not know which way it will go. A dead thing will remain there until it is moved by somebody else. And the world of scientists lacks dynamism and life of any kind. What Nietzsche has said regarding Apollonian approach, it is same thing. What is the Apollonian approach? Making it clear, structured, ordered, regimented, very clearly structured. We are making reality dead, conceptual. We can analyze. We can do anything with that one. That is a clarity is there. Apollonian. We thought it is a growth because everything is very clear, very precise. Logic is very precise. Thought is not very precise. But there is a greater depth in thought. Logic, the depth is only as much as it is presented. That is all. Nothing more. But here, don't think what I am presenting has come to the depth of the thought that is there. The depth is as much as you are able to go. As much as you are able to understand. But the logic, 2 plus 2, or in mathematics and logic, 2 plus 2 is 4. Nothing more to be understood. That is the final word. Nothing more. So here, we are saying the Apollonian approach is more in line with the scientific and the traditional philosophical approach, where intellect, reason, logic, that is predominantly present, and analysis is present. And with this, when you look at the reality, we are looking at the reality only as an extended dead reality. Intellect can conceive of matter which it constructs for the purpose of turning bodies into tools. That is an expression which is the intellect is considered as a tool to work with the dead reality, an instrument. How to understand this particular extended body? With the tool of intellect. So intellect is a tool. Thus, intellect is the organ of Homo faber. Homo faber means the man who is working. The domain of intellect and science is static matter. It cannot extend its operation to the world in which everything is moving, growing, living and becoming. So already the opening is given to where he is moving. If you are taking reality as simply static and dead, what Nietzsche has said, same thing. He started the opening of the new trend of thinking. He is criticizing the stagnation of the traditional thought. This is another way of putting the stagnation. Intellect is looking at reality as stagnant, dead, conceptual, to be analyzed. As different from the reality as growing, moving, dynamic. So with that one, he is opening what is there comes the role of intuition. Don't go with your reason. Reason will clarify, conceptual clarity. Intuition will not give conceptual clarity, but depth of thought. Philosophy has to be such. Life and consciousness cannot be treated scientifically, mathematically, or logically, but only philosophically. So now he says, reality, as for him, reality is moving, reality is alive, reality is dynamic, and that such a reality cannot be approached with your intellect. If you go with the intellect, even the little life the reality has got will be made to be dead. You make God dead when you make God an object of human rationalization. I am with reason, I am analyzing. With reason, I am analyzing human being. So when you approach with reason, we find reality as dead and stagnant and static. So we cannot take a scientific, mathematical and logical approach to reality because reality is alive. And so what does he propose? Philosophy must be a direct vision of reality. A direct vision, the meaning of direct vision, it has got a meaning. Why I use the expression direct vision? Because in logic and in reasoning process, it is not a direct vision, a reasoning process, it is a step-by-step process. It is called deduction. Deduction flows, how does it flow? You come from the two premises, you come to a conclusion, then that is used as another step, you go to another conclusion, you go on, you move from, you step by step, you go on. This is the logical approach, step by step, rational approach. You establish this step, then you go to the next step. And then once it is established, you go to the another step. So that is the logical or deductive approach, deduction. The first part of logic that we studied, the most of the Aristotelian logic, deduction, how does it proceed? It proceeds step by step, logical, systematic way of procedure. After having made sure this step is solid enough, you go to the next step. But as against this kind of step by step procedure of deduction, intuition is a direct vision. I am able to see. I am able to see not with the eyes. I use the expression perception. I am able to perceive beauty, not by logically analyzing. I am not able to, therefore there is beauty. No. It is not a logical conclusion. It is I see the beauty of Taj Mahal. I see it. That is a direct vision. Not a logical, systematic way of arriving at a conclusion. Rather, it is a direct vision. And that expression that he used as a German expression, which is now commonly used, especially in theology, Weltanschauung. Welt means world, Anschauung means seeing. Seeing the world as a whole. Seeing the world as a whole. In the notes it is there. Weltanschauung. So it's a direct vision. I am able to see the reality has to be seen not analytically, not logically, not mathematically, but as a direct vision. Intuition, insight. Meaning of insight is that one. Insight, intuition, as different from the logical, scientific, mathematical way of procedure. Philosophy is the art of comprehending the universe in its process and vital impetus. So here, how do you are comprehending reality? Comprehending means, so intuition is, here we can put comprehending. Or comprehension. Here it is more understanding. Understanding is more of logical, rational way of understanding, step-by-step procedure. Comprehension means I comprehend the reality. I use the expression logic or even anything, this is on final year philosophy, third year philosophy, history philosophy. It has to be comprehended, not understood, not studying by heart. Comprehend means you just see it, you hold it. To comprehend means to hold it together. Then you get a grip. Don't think you are going to hold it together so tight. Gradually it gets revealed. Slowly. Nobody has got a final grip on reality. So, but we keep on comprehending. We keep on growing. That is the style of thinking in the contemporary period. Intuition is a sort of spiritualized instinct which is nearer to life than intellect and science. So that it is with the intuition we are able to comprehend life. Comprehend life, and reality for him is alive. So if we have to see reality as alive, we have to use intuition. And with intellect, even the living things will become dead. Intellect dissects reality, whereas intuition comprehends reality in its totality. Intellect dissects, cuts into pieces, analyzes. But intuition comprehends. It grasps the reality as a whole, goes deeper and wider. It consists of a simple glance in which reality is experienced without dissection or composition. Insights that we get, insights on a parable, insights on a gospel passage, or any passage for that matter. I just get that thought, not by analyzing the word by analysis. That is the normal intellectual approach to any text. But I get a grasp of it. I see it. It tells me, it speaks to me. And there, those who are thinkers will they are able to comprehend reality. Thus, there are two spheres: the dead spatial matter of the intellect and the life and dynamism of the sphere of intuition. Now, two spheres. Maybe I must clarify. We are not saying there are two types of reality. No. Two ways of looking at the reality. It is not one type of reality is dead, other type of reality is alive and dynamic. No. Reality for him is alive and dynamic. But two ways of looking at the reality, insofar as we look at reality with the intellect, in order to understand and in order to dissect, analyze, we reduce reality to a dead, composed, extended body, dead body, stagnant body. But insofar as I employ intuition into it, then I see reality as alive, as dynamic, as moving. I am able to see moving only when I see as a whole. But if I am limited to a particular fraction of a second, things are not moving. It is stagnant. The traditional films, how the films were seen as moving. Small, static pictures, one after another comes, and we are able to see it as moving. We see them together. Then we see reality as moving. So it is not a division in the reality. It is a division in the way of looking at reality. I repeat that one. It is not a division that we make reality into two categories. Reality can be looked at either with intellect in order to comprehend, in order to understand the reality or analyze the reality, their reality shows itself as static. Insofar as I look at reality with intuition and insight, I am comprehending reality in its dynamism, movement, and life. So, two ways of looking at reality. An adequate and total philosophy must do justice to both with a priority for intuition, just as what Nietzsche has said. Nietzsche has said the Dionysian dimension was forgotten. Those who are able to think, they see the connection. I am relating the Dionysian aspect of life and intuition. That was forgotten. That has to be given priority. We are at the exclusion of, at the neglect of life and dynamism. The Apollonian dimension was emphasized in the traditional philosophy. So also, Bergson is telling, intellect was dominating the Western thought. Their scientific approach, analytical approach was prevalent. Only with a balanced approach to both of these faculties can one reach an adequate philosophy. Now, balance doesn't mean equal importance. The priority has to be for intuition. Not because it was forgotten, but because of the importance of the intuition. But we are not saying intellect is of no use, but rather intellect also is of importance, but then it is of a lesser importance. But then unfortunately, Western thought and culture went in the direction of exclusive importance only for intellect and analysis. The other one was forgotten. Now, Bergson, after Nietzsche's, in the footsteps of Nietzsche says the Dionysian has to be given priority, importance. Bergson says the intuition has to be given priority. And then we will have a more adequate type of philosophy.